Hey, good morning or good afternoon, rather. Scott Luton, Greg White, and Karin Bursa here with you on watching now. Karin, Greg, good afternoon.
Hey, good day. It's good to be with you guys, and congratulations on number 500. Way to go!
Thank you so much, Greg. That was you said it well in your LinkedIn post. That was a Friday afternoon after a full week, full conversation, trying to condense 500 shows into obviously 90 minutes, right?
Yeah, and still I was energized after the fact, right? I mean, that's the thing is we'd had a really, really full day that day. I think I had a board meeting and everyone else had all kinds of meetings going on. I don't remember the day. I just remember the feeling now, right? And everybody brought it. It was fun.
Agreed.
So
great milestone, great team. I wish we could have had everybody on the episode. We'll do that next time like we did for the previous milestone. But really
now there's so many more everybody's.
That's right.
Right? It's hard to fit everybody in an episode. How long did that episode wind up being, Scott?
About 90 minutes, and we're gonna have to get a bigger boat, bigger bus, whatever.
So buckle up, folks.
That's
and
right.
Have a drink.
Absolutely.
Anything, really.
We know we're also going to touch on where we spent the morning of Friday, but really quick to all of our audience, welcome to today's Supply Chain Buzz. We go live every Monday at 12 noon, where we're typically sharing some of the latest and greatest stories that you should be tracking in the industry. Today we have two special guests. We have Karin Bursa, who's already here with us, host of our Tech Talk Digital Supply Chain podcast, one of our newest and hottest properties here at Supply Chain Now. So, Karin, we look forward to picking your brain momentarily. But she
also gets the Best Dressed award. Look at that.
I do. Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
We also are going to be hearing and featuring Sofia Rivas Herrera, supply chain ambassador extraordinaire and enthusiast. And I tell you, everybody is asking Sofia for her thought leadership, and we're pleased to have her here today to share kind of the Reader's Digest version of a recent publication she had, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, everything she does is stellar, right?
She has the Midas touch.
She just recapped what's going to happen this week already, right? So it's like the Sofia newsletter.
Yes, I love it. That's a great way of putting it. But hey, to our audience, we're going to say hellos here in just a minute. Quick programming note. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from so you don't miss a single thing. All right. So we have got, we're going to say hello to a few folks. We're going to mention a couple of events, and then we're going to dive into some cool things that Karin is working on. Want to say hello. We've got a bunch of folks already here, Greg and Karin.
Wow.
Chris Barnes, of course, was with us on number 500. Great to see you, Chris. Tom Raftery is with us here via LinkedIn. He's joining us along with Alexis Bateman this coming Friday on a sustainability, circular economy themed episode, a live stream. Looking forward to that, Tom.
I
Pierre.
need a hat like Tom's.
Well, I'm hoping, Karin, yes. Tom, so if you're hearing us here, would love for you to bring 3 official Tom Raftery hats.
There you go.
That's right.
Mike Avra, hey, great to see connect with Mike last week. Appreciate that. Congratulations on 500. Gary Smith, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a wild ride. Agreed, Gary. And we look forward to sharing some of Gary's thought leadership with our audience here in coming weeks. Sylvia Judy, Greg, you can't have a live stream without Sylvia, right?
I can't even have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without Sylvia.
Hello, Sylvia. Pratik, great to have you. Daria, hey, thanks so much. We're going to share a couple things here towards the end of today's episode. Appreciate your note earlier. Kavan, Aaron, Gorky, great to have all of you. And Gorky, looks like we've got an audio issue there. Hopefully, sometimes that can ease up as we get through the live stream. So hopefully that works well. All right, so we got to dive right into. Let's see here. My mouse is not working all of a sudden on the live stream. That's always nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So, Greg, let's hit a couple of events really quick. We've got a big webinar coming up. Now, look, Karin and Greg, IoT is nothing new, right? It's already a cliche. It was a cliche maybe when it was launched, the technology was implemented. However, there are some really cool things and powerful ways that companies are leveraging Internet of Things in new ways, shapes, and forms. And that's what Bob is going to be talking about on this webinar, right, Greg?
Yeah. I mean, and Bob can bring it on IoT, just like Mark Morley can bring it on integrations. Such a talented team at this company we had never heard of before, OpenText. And it's really interesting to hear from these pros, right? Mark has become kind of a celebrity in his own right in that integration space.
Agreed. And this, so bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your observations. This is going to be a lively session like all of our webinars. So November 19th, Bob Slevin with OpenText. I think we've got the link to register in the show notes.
Hey,
and then,
just real quick. I mean, on IoT, folks are using that. Really interesting. Talked to a company in Canada a couple weeks back called Rhythmic. And I think we may have talked about this a little bit, but those giant dump trucks that you use on mining sites and all the huge equipment there, they're monitoring that, because if those things go down, it costs millions of dollars a day for them to be out of production. So it's a pretty important technology, right? Agreed.
And it continues to evolve like all technologies. So tune in November 19th to hear some of the latest and greatest. Hey, Tom says the hats he typically wears are a Cubras. So hey, I'm gonna Google that. Right, we're gonna wrap up.
I can tell by the name I can't afford it.
They're nice. They're nice though.
That's right. David is asking, hey, is she your jam hookup? Sylvia, Greg.
I'm still waiting, David, but I mean, I can't even make a PB&J without thinking, I wonder how this would taste with Sylvia's jam on it.
That's right. And finally, Jeff Miller is here with us. The voice behind Supply Chain is the Business. A lot more to come on that really soon. So Jeff, hope this finds you well. All right. So one more event to tackle before we pick Karin's brain on a couple of really cool things.
Yeah.
I love this whole angle they're taking with the 2020 SAPICS virtual conference. Their hashtag they're using is not just another webinar. I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of virtual events have become just that. But 2 days, all about achieving that perfect 2020 supply chain vision for 2021 and beyond. And Greg, our role here is we're going to give a snapshot of a couple of our favorite conversations from 2020, and trivia is back, Greg.
All right. So I should probably prepare, not for trivia, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, I like this. I like this concept. And of course, Jenny Froome and the team at SAPICS always bring it. Isn't it fascinating that it doesn't matter where you are, this is still relevant to you? I mean, that if nothing else is how the world has changed in the last 8-9 months, right?
Agreed. And check
there are
it out.
No borders.
That's right. And Jenny and SAPICS team's doing some really cool things to help folks connect, help folks feel like they're connected, learn, pick up best practices, and it's open to SAPICS members and non-members. So y'all check that out. We've got a link in the show notes. Okay, so now we want to turn our attention over to Karin. So, but for starters, so Karin and Greg, we took the whole team out to a special event Friday morning. Greg, tee things up a bit before we dive into Karin's perspective.
Well, man, I don't know how to do it without giving the whole thing up, but it was a great opportunity for our team to get together physically in a single space and to do good, give forward, and be the change that's needed in the world. So we are living our core values. That to me was the most important thing. The second most important thing, and I hope Allison Giddens isn't watching right now, I did eat lunch at Tacos del Chavo on Friday.
It was delicious.
But no, I mean, it was great. It was, honestly, the time flew by. We were there for like 3 hours and the time flew by. And of course I was working the latest because I was the slowest.
So I'm going to, so Karin, love for you to weigh in on exactly what Empty Stocking Fund is. We did a lot of toy and supply picking in a warehouse on Friday morning.
We did. Yeah. We had to put some of those supply chain skills to work hands-on. And the Supply Chain Now team came and volunteered at the Empty Stocking Fund, which is an organization that serves about 50,000 children in the Atlanta metro area. And what they do is provide holiday gifts for children that are at poverty level. So they're serving about 9 counties in the metro Atlanta area. And Friday, the Supply Chain Now team were Santa's little helpers, actually packing and staging for shipment toys and some hygienic products for kids in our metro Atlanta area. So it's a lot of fun. You guys, you think these guys are fun on live stream? You should see them in 3D. Just a great time.
I'll tell you, I felt like their system was really strong. I mean, really, they had numbered and lettered aisles. They, on the pick sheet, they identified the aisle that you were to go down for it. We even talked with the coordinator about digitizing, right? About a digital transformation that would be relatively simple for the organization to do. So it was fun. And what a great, in a way, a great supply chain lesson as well, right? And it was great to see what kids wanted. I had at least 2 families that had 5 kids. And I'm just thinking, man, what a Christmas that must be, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
I think the longest pick list I saw was 7 children.
Yeah.
In one household. So certainly a packed house.
Yeah.
But to be able to bring Christmas to 7 kids in a family is pretty exciting.
Agreed. And it's terrible that there's such a need for that out in across the landscape. But I'd say it's a wonderful, rewarding, fulfilling thing to be able to work and move the needle right there and know exactly what you're doing, seeing the names and the numbers of family members and stuff. So, Karin, let's talk about transportation with the Empty Stocking Fund as they're looking to disseminate all of these toys and gifts and needed supplies.
Absolutely. So first off, Greg identified some process improvements that they were able to act on almost immediately. So Greg, thanks for sharing those suggestions with the team at the Empty Stocking Fund. So one of the big things is that the Empty Stocking Fund has gone from a brick and mortar format, which they've operated in for more than 90 years. And this year, due to COVID, they're going online and virtual and distribution. So part of that is that those gifts that we've pulled now have to be distributed out to the communities. And so there's still a need. So the Empty Stocking Fund is looking for a partner in the metro Atlanta area that can help them actually transport all of these gifts that are bagged and tagged out to 30 different YMCA locations around Atlanta so that the families can pick them up there based on their zip codes. So if any of you are out there listening and have the wherewithal or the connections to maybe get a conversation started about a partner who can help with that transport, that would be fantastic.
Agreed.
Brokers, carriers, or if you got a pickup truck, sign up. Right?
Sign them all up.
Yeah.
And we added, this is our team shot. We had associates, we had family members, we had kids, you name it. We even had Karin, maybe a friend for your network that heard what you're doing via your podcast, and Jan showed up to help out in the effort Friday morning.
Absolutely. So a friend of mine listened to the episode of Tech Talk that highlights the supply chain transformation that the Empty Stocking Fund has gone through in just a 6-month window of time so that they could serve the community and keep everybody safe and comply with COVID guidelines as well. And she heard about it, got excited, and was able to step in and work with us on Friday. So that was a lot of fun.
It sure was. And you can check out more kind of story behind the story on the most recent podcast that Tech Talk published, where Amanda Hunt was interviewed by Karin. So check that out. You can learn more about the organization at emptystockingfund.org. And of course, if you can't find what you're looking for via there, just shoot us a note. We'll try to get you, we'll definitely get you connected, and appreciate what Karin, your longstanding leadership with the group. We've got a quick question from the audience. So Mike, Mike Aver wants to know full semi-truckloads or courier. Any comments there, Karin?
So it's probably full truckload, Mike, out to the distribution center. So one of the things that's different with this year's selecting online and picking up in the community is that we're able to start picking the orders much earlier, which is what we did last Friday. So historically, they'll serve 50,000 children in 18 days in a brick and mortar format. But what we're trying to do is group them together for efficient transport out to those distribution centers. So thanks for asking.
It is palletized, Mike.
It is palletized,
but
yes.
non-stackable, just to be clear, in case anyone's wondering.
Nice, Greg. Great point. And Chris says, hey, this would be a great gratis consulting engagement. Absolutely. And, you know, for folks that may not be in the Metro Atlanta area, I just want to maybe an obvious point I want to make. I'm sure there's this need in your neck of the woods. And and if you do a little Googling, you'll find organizations that do this or other similar charity work, food shelters, you name it. So reach out. They need supply chain support like any other organization. So in leadership bandwidth. So
and stuffing stuff in a bag counts as supply chain support.
That's right. Hey, our kids loved it. As
oh
Amanda
my
mentioned.
Oh, they were awesome.
It was a blast. You know, get this. So the guy next to me who was working next to me was with Mannheim. He was the inventory manager. Mannheim is the big auction company for auctioning cars. He was the inventory manager for their car auction. So he was taking phone calls the whole time going, yeah, move this one there and make sure you got it there. And then the ladies on the left of me were from Chick-fil-A. So every time you said, what did they say? Every time I said, thank you for your help, they said, my pleasure. It's such a great day.
Cultural.
And the team was so thankful. I got to tell you, look, we try to do these kind of things every year. And you get far more out of it than you give. You really do. I mean, you could see that Amanda and the rest of the team, they were working really hard, hustling. They had a guy driving an electric forklift, which was kind of cool. I'm certified to drive a forklift, but they still would not let me do it. But, probably wisely. But man, were they hustling. And it was a very impressive effort. It was great to be even just a tiny part of it. Yep. And it is so gratifying.
So emptystockingfund.org for more information. And we also have it in the notes. All right. So Karin, really quick, as we wrap up this front section here, you've got a big guest on the next version of Tech Talk you're about to publish, right?
That's right. So coming up, we're going to be talking with industry trailblazer, Laura Cesiri, who is the founder and CEO of Supply Chain Insights. But I think our audience will just be amazed by her story and progression with her career, starting out as a chemical engineer. And so join us for that and take a listen. I'm sure that you'll pick up on a few things that you'll find interesting and informative in the process.
Agreed. Laura, what a home run and trailblazer, pioneer. Those are very meaningful and accurate tags in this case. So Karin, love what you're doing with Tech Talk. Folks, you can subscribe for it in its own channel, right? Tech Talk Digital Supply Chain Podcast. And reach out to Karin for more information. We've got her LinkedIn profile in the show notes as well. Karin, always a pleasure. Again, really appreciate your leadership, your give forward perspective you've always had. And it was a pleasure to see you Friday morning.
Yeah, it was great to see you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Greg. And thanks to the whole team at Supply Chain Now.
That's right. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much, Karin.
Thanks, Karin.
All right. Bye now.
All right. That was a special day, special leader, special effort, and love what the great folks at Empty Stocking Fund are doing. All right. So, Greg, we've got an outstanding second guest with us, and we've got about 3 or 4 news stories between now and when we're swooshing her on. Are you ready? You buckled up, ready to go?
I am ready.
All right. So let's shoot through this, and I'm going to get your take. I'm sure most folks have heard about this first deal as reported here by Shafali Kapadia at Supply Chain Dive. Coupa buys LlamaSoft in a $1.5 billion B as in Bezos deal. It's Coupa's 4th acquisition of the year.
Right.
Their CEO says it comes at a time when businesses are prioritizing agility and the ability to, quote, pivot on a dime. There's that word again.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, lots of mixed reactions to this deal, evidently. In fact, the article referenced Laura Cesiri's take, which she maybe less than enthused might be an accurate way of putting it. But what's your take here?
Well, I don't necessarily differ with Laura's perception. It is likely that this kind of muddies the water and that sort of thing. And we've seen that companies that go too broad too fast kind of dilute the greatness of each individual application. But so far, the way that Coupa has integrated the companies that they've bought is they've effectively just absorbed the revenue and allowed the companies to run independently. If they can allow that to happen so that those companies get to continue to use their superpowers and then integrate those solutions together and create leverage points, that will be effective. The IBM way of kind of making the company disappear into a sea of consultants and the company's never heard from again, I totally get Laura's perspective on that, and a lot of people's, she's not alone, by the way, in that perspective. But that hasn't been the model that Coupa has used so far. Now, admittedly, they've just started this acquisition binge. But LlamaSoft is a great technology. I have a good friend who works at LlamaSoft, and they have been doing great things there. It's not necessarily directly applicable to Coupa and its specific functionality, but I can see where there could be some synergies. Do I sound milquetoast enough on that? Honestly, I haven't been able to really assess it, frankly. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yep, agreed. Now that you've got it, what do you do next? The need of looking around corners, not just the first corner, but a second corner, and maybe even a third corner, is what everybody's trying to gain. So it'd be really interesting to see how it all integrates together, and bottom line, how they not just currently serve current customers better and more comprehensively, more effectively, but new customers. Yeah. So we'll see. But great point there, David. It may well be too big, too fast. We'll see. Moving right along to the second story here. So Jennifer Smith, one of the best in the business from Wall Street Journal, has got this piece, Companies Going Small to Go Big. So Greg, this follows right along the line we've been talking about forever now. It seems like years upon years. Robotics automation is enabling better utilization of space in tight urban micro-fulfillment centers.
Yeah.
So unlike so many of the traditional distribution centers, we've got a ton throughout the metro Atlanta area for sure. Those are large in size, of course, labor intensive, and typically you're not going to be smack dab on Peachtree Street, your pick, right in the middle of things, right? Because of the space requirements and the cost. These new tech-heavy micro fulfillment centers, they are smack dab in the middle of the cities and helping to hit those tight delivery windows, those big commitments we've all made. So one such center that the article cites is in Tel Aviv. And it's said to be able to process 1,000 orders a day with 4 employees, and the center is less than 7,500 square feet. So, Greg, what'd you hear? What'd you read in the article here?
Well, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? I mean, we've talked about stores as fulfillment center. Target is putting, and I still don't understand why. Again, I would welcome anyone from Target to explain this, but they're putting a fulfillment center between the stores and the consumer. Companies like Stored have used what I call edge fulfillment, a small segment of a big warehouse for this kind of fulfillment, for very targeted fulfillment. Robotics are inevitable. I mean, frankly, you can use robotics in any size warehouse. Amazon robotics warehouses are 2 million square feet. So it doesn't have to be small for robotics. Robotics is just incredibly helpful for these small. And Scott, our last live event at Modex, we saw a number of companies with incredibly finite capabilities of technology and robotics to be able to facilitate this. But getting near the consumer is critical. The death of the mall is helping facilitate this. The death of some strip malls is helping to facilitate this. Retailers who are converting their stores to fulfillment centers and showrooms or showcases will help to facilitate this, but this is an absolute necessity to me. You know, the transition of stores into fulfillment centers and stores. I think we were talking about that with, is it JP Wiggins? About
service merchandise,
the service merchandise model, right? Where the stores are just a showroom and a fulfillment center.
Yep. Agreed.
I can absolutely see that. So, you know, we'll go through a lot of iterations of how this gets done, but, and, you know, we don't live in a tight urban space either, Scott. So, you know, it takes on a whole different meaning if you're in New York City or London, right? Or pick a gigantic city that's really tightly spaced.
Right. Good point. Jeff adds, these facilities work well also because they maximize revenue per cubic foot of building volume, not square foot of floor space. Great point.
Yeah, that's true, because a lot of these robots can crawl up.
Right. Yeah, just like the images and some of the videos they had. And Claudia asked, and to our audience, I'd love for y'all to weigh in the comments on Claudia's question. And Claudia, by the way, great to see you. Do you believe these micro facilities are truly viable, or an idea of how to reuse idle real estate? So we won't have time to dive into that fully because we're going to get to our featured guest. But folks, would love for you to take a stab at that question in the comments.
Yeah, and real quick, I just think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk that through later, but
fair statement. All right. So third headline here, Jennifer Smith again. She's working double time, or maybe she's got a clone. She's great though. One of the best in the business. Logistics hiring spree. It shouldn't surprise many folks. October payrolls climbed a good bit. Warehousing, trucking, and delivery operators added a combined 46,000 jobs in October. Factors included, of course, e-commerce. Holiday peak hiring though. We're going to have several peaks, 2, 3, maybe 17 peaks this year. And inventory restocking, of course, played a big role there. Greg, as we learned in the U.S. Bank live stream on a special episode of The Buzz last week, that new driver funnel to industry has really taken a hit, right? Because of quarantine, social distancing, we're not getting nearly as many new drivers that are graduates of that school. And in the article, Mark Rourke, CEO of Schneider National, was talking about how big of a factor that was. So good news, bad news. Need more drivers. I think we've been on that mountaintop screaming the good news for 10, 15 years, it seems. But at least folks are getting new opportunities in supply chain to meet this incredible consumer demand. All right,
and this is not uncommon at this time of year, right? I mean, it's news. It's news because the economy is coming back from an absolute collapse, but it's not, it's the same news every year, right? Everyone is hiring to fulfill or to move goods. This year, there might be a little bit more of a blip, or there might just be a little bit more publicity around it. But the good news is unemployment did drop to 6.9%. And if anyone's has watched the market early upon opening, I don't know what it's doing now.
Agreed.
Clearly there was some enthusiasm around that and around the relative surety of the election having been called. So I think that that will bode well for us going forward.
Yep.
But this is not unlike what we just talked about in the previous thing. I mean, even facilities with robotics require human beings, and robots can't do everything in every facility. Sure thing.
Those are sure things. Absolutely. This trend isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So neat to see it. And we look forward to continuing to talk about the opportunity for humans in this ever growing robotic and automated supply chain that we're in here. All right. So let's completely shift gears. This story really, when I saw this in my LinkedIn feed, I'm like, man, we've got to bring Sofia in here to talk firsthand to our community. So we're going to be talking marigolds, talking about the supply chain behind marigolds, talking about some of her observations here, as well as maybe some of the observations that are transferable across cold chain, because obviously flowers, they have a very unique supply chain, bring them into the country or into various countries. So let's welcome in Sofia Rivas Herrera, supply chain ambassador and enthusiast, to the show. Hey, Sofia.
Hi.
Great to have you back here on Supply Chain Now. Greg and I both really enjoyed your podcast interview you did with us.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, and I'm so excited to be on the live stream, like physically. you know.
Well,
Great to have you.
we enjoy your comments in these live streams and your instant analysis and your post live stream analysis, right, Greg? Seems to get everybody's conversations going.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think it's a great recap for everyone, and you've already previewed the week of events for this week as well, right? This most important article, though, I had to actually text to my mother. She's a big Marigold fan, so I wanted to make sure she knew.
Well, on that note,
in there, yeah.
So I don't have a green thumb as much as I'd love to have one, and I'm pretty new to Marigold. So I'm gonna set this interview up just a smidge here, Sofia. So you had this article appear in the Logistics World magazine where it was all dedicated about the Marigold supply chain and opportunities for folks. So Greg, for starters, Sofia, tell us about the significance of the flower itself.
Yeah, so Marigold in Mexico has a very important significance around Day of the Dead, which is a celebration, a big celebration here in which we remember everyone that has passed away, and we build altars for them the 1st and the 2nd of November. So this flower is used to guide the spirits to your altar or to visit you in these days, right? Because of its smell and its color. And yeah, so in Mexico, we call it cempasúchil, which is a word from indigenous language before Spain came. So it means a flower of 20 petals or 20 flowers, you can say. And yeah, it has a lot of meaning. It's very iconic, and we use it mostly for decorations only in this particular season, right?
Love that. See, Greg, I've learned 5 things new already, and we've only just started with Sofia. But Greg,
I've never counted the petals on a marigold before, so that's fascinating. I did not know that.
Yes.
What is the language, Sofia?
It's called Nahuatl.
Okay, and it's what? It's
So it is still
one of the old tribes.
Exactly. The original people from Mexico, it was one of the languages they spoke. You can still meet people in Mexico that speak that language, and it's actually very interesting because it makes total sense, right? It's compound words, and if you want to keep saying more words, you just add pieces to it, right? So yeah.
So really quick, looks like your sister Andrea is here with you. I know that you, as we talked about in the podcast, you and your sister are extremely talented, and she especially so, I believe, in the production arts, if I said that right. So great to have you, Andrea, and looking forward to learning a little bit more from Sofia about marigolds. Okay, so Greg, we want to, based on the article and based on what we know about Sofia, we want to pull more from Sofia's brain about marigolds, right?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the story itself is fascinating. So tell us a little bit about the significance of the supply chain for this.
So on average per year, there's like 21,000 tons of this flower produced and bought for these altars. So that's like the demand of the flowers, but we still don't measure it correctly or enough to say if we're producing enough or less, and if we're meeting customer needs, right?
So we're not, Sofia, real quick to clarify, so we're not measuring demand enough to understand where production really falls. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. So we have traditional producers that every year know that at a certain point they have to start planting and producing the flower, and that from the 27th of October to the 2nd of November they will sell it, but they're not really connected to especially formal markets. So we know that most of the flour is wasted, but we don't know how much. So the latest article that I read like 2 days ago was that it was estimated that 40% of demand this year because of COVID and restrictions fell, right? What it was wasted because they couldn't sell it. And this is basically because you can buy these flowers in an informal way. So you can see it around the streets, how the people directly from the field come with their trucks and you buy it. But if we could connect these producers to a more formalized way, then they could access more people, right? And they could access the markets that are demanding this flower.
Gotcha.
So they pretty much only have farmers market type access rather than access to maybe big purchasers or group organizations. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because this flower is sold like already pulled out of the earth, so it's mostly for decorative purposes.
Right.
So I want to share a few comments, Greg and Sophia, that we're getting here. Chris Barnes and Tom are having interesting discussion about the busiest airports for flower supply chain. So Chris is asking if there's any truth to the rumor that Atlanta, ATL, one of the world's busiest airports, is the busiest airport for flower supply chain. Tom says he thinks, is that Schiphol? If I said that right?
Schiphol, that's Amsterdam's airport.
Yeah.
I knew
where
I was
they grow
close.
tulips like they're going out of style. So that's probably what he's thinking of there.
So I wonder, so if good old Malcolm could jump on and see what is the busiest airport for the flower supply chain. Sylvia,
I bet Atlanta ships a lot more azaleas than Schiphol does, though.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And with Masters Week, this week
around the corner, this week, right? Yeah.
Sylvia said she loves marigolds, but we got to keep the deer and rabbits away. Greg, I think you were having the same challenge with your tomatoes over the summer.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We got involved in the fence post and chicken wire supply chain.
Agreed.
In my household. So is Sylvia, let's clarify there. Is Sylvia saying they do keep away deer and rabbits, or you need to keep them away? Do you know, Sophia, do these keep away deer or no?
Yeah, what are the side effects?
I have no idea, but I would say they have a very strong smell, so perhaps it's repellent. So, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we've got some other.
I'm sure Sylvia will clarify for us.
Oh, definitely. Claudia says in India the price of marigold doubles during the festival. Is that Navratris? I said that correct, maybe. But Claudia, great point. And Daria says Indian festivals are the boom season for flowers. And then we've got a question from Nairobi, Sophia and or Greg, if y'all might know. Are those flowers exported to other Latin American countries, or are they only distributed in Mexico? Any thoughts there?
Most of the production here in Mexico is for Mexican market. So it's neither exported or flown over to other places, which we could start doing because this celebration has been adopted by several other cultures and other people around the world. I think one of the booms of Day of the Day could be when everyone saw the movie of 007 and James Bond and was like, what is that? Or when Coco came out and everyone learned a little bit more about the tradition. Right. And I guess it is a very nice tradition in Mexico that could connect with other people around the world. So the market could be potentially out there as well. Because if you go to the numbers, for example, India and China are the greatest producers of marigold in the world. Mm-hmm. But they are particular for different reasons, right? in here our production is for this particular celebration. It's not used for anything else. I think only 12% of it is used for feeding stock and for craft beer. But
Really?
so they make like special craft beer in this season.
Well, that means we've got to drink
Now
more
we're
beer,
talking.
right?
Now we're talking, yeah.
All right. So, Sophia, I really enjoyed this article. How did it come about? How did you get connected with the logistics world?
So it all started because I was curious about this flower supply chain because of the season, and because I was building my altar at home, so I was thinking about so of course there's a supply chain behind it, like it's everywhere,
right?
So I wanted to research about it, and I shared a post on LinkedIn, and one of the directors of the magazine, Sandra Huchim, we met earlier in the year at MIT. So she contacted me and said, I read your research. I want to do an article about it because it's such an important part of our culture. And I think a lot of people can feel connected to it as well.
Love it.
So that's how it went by. Yeah.
No, Greg, I'd love to get your take on this, because one of the great things about articles like Sophia's here is it connects to consumer that may not be thinking about supply chain, but it gets them connected with things that are very important to them in different parts of the year or year round, in some cases with some of these other articles. And I love that about this article. Greg, what's your take there?
I think that, the important alignment here is we talk a lot about the coffee supply chain, right? And the difficulty in the growers getting to the greater market at a fair price. And this is a similar business problem. It is some of the smaller growers being able to get to the marketplace that has great need, and to do so in an economically efficient way and get the right access and a fair price for their products. So I think also it's just cool because it's so timely from a seasonal standpoint, right? Dia de los Muertos is essentially Halloween, and everyone was kind of interested in it at the time, and I just think it's a very timely article. So applause on that as well, tying it not only to a very practical supply chain problem, but also to a timely event. So that was pretty cool. I think that's just being able to tie that in creates interest and gets people interested in supply chain that might not otherwise be. So
great point, Greg. Sophia, you keep raising the bar. You keep raising the bar. I tell you what, just like you've got a busy week lined up, more folks want to get your POV on things. A quick side note to y'all and to our comments. We had a call last week with a great friend of ours in London, and they were talking about the pumpkin shortage. And Greg, I think you and I have not seen that here locally, and I hadn't read anything about it. So, Sophia, in your neck of the woods, any pumpkin shortages there?
So I think it happens because of perhaps everyone being locked down and trying to bring that tradition again and feel connected to that special season. And also because pumpkins are sold in formal markets, so the access to them is a bit easier, right? To find a pumpkin at a supermarket than finding a marigold flower there, right?
Right. So different challenges.
So I think that's mainly the point, right?
Yep.
For it to be, at some point a shortage, and then for next year you plan it better.
Yes.
And I think because it is a great opportunity that it is seasonal, and so every year that it's going to happen at that exact time, and perhaps the places that celebrate that tradition the most. So then I think it's a bit predictive to know how much you will sell or how to better prepare for it in case you ran out.
I think it's Starbucks' fault for over promoting pumpkin spice latte, frankly.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of pumpkin spice myself.
I
Greg,
don't know
but
how
hey,
much pumpkin there actually is in that latte.
Not
that's
not
right.
much. Yeah.
So let's
But
hear.
thankfully, we still will have enough pumpkin for pumpkin pie. So that's what I'm
Yes, that's the important
mostly
thing, right?
concerned about.
Sylvia says deers hate them, and David says it supposedly has a bitter taste and scent to deer and rabbits, Greg. So our investigative journalists are on it.
Yeah.
And marigold is good if you have a deer problem, it sounds
So
like.
you should plant that around your tomatoes. Is that?
Yeah, like a barrier.
Yeah, that's right. A marigold fence.
Yes. Mike Aver says hit a large Day of the Dead celebrations across our Latin American community here in Atlanta as well.
Yep.
Claudia says, sadly, the cut flower market has crashed due to major events being canceled as COVID continues to grip the world. And, along those lines, Greg, we talked about it a few months back. It's not quite the same, but beer, we had a huge glut of beer, unused beer, because of all the major sporting events that a lot of beer was produced for. And of course they got canceled. And I'd love to get my finger back on the pulse of where that has evolved to. Aaron says,
Sophia, you have a new assignment.
Yes.
Are they giving it for free or?
I don't know. I mean, except for Budweiser's born on date, I don't know that anybody knows how old the beer they're drinking is. Right. So
I need some research.
I'm sure they were dumping it for sure.
Yes. Aaron says shouldn't be any pumpkin in the pumpkin spice lattes. It's supposed to be just the spice blend from pumpkin pie. And by the way,
it's fake.
Yes.
Don't buy it.
Anything that covers up that burnt coffee taste.
Well, so Aaron, by the way, we published a Veteran Voices interview featuring Aaron's perspective on this past Saturday. And as I've mentioned on social media, it's one of those that it just, you capture it and it just keeps baking. And I keep going back to different things he shared. So check that out wherever you get your podcast. Aaron really shared some helpful perspective for folks in transition, regardless if you're a veteran or otherwise. So great to have you here in the live stream, Aaron. All right. So Sophia, you're not going to be a hard person to catch up with this week, it sounds, but let's make sure that our listeners can connect with you. So what's the easiest way beyond LinkedIn, which we've got a link to your profile on the show notes?
So you can also contact me by Instagram. I have an account. It's called Sophie Being Serious, because right now I'm not being serious. But yeah, so you can just send me a message. I do appreciate when people send me a message, because then I can start conversation with them. So, and I do enjoy talking, so just write a small message and I will reply to it.
Well, we appreciate that, Sophia, and to our audience, check it out. She makes any conversation more intelligent. We've enjoyed it here and enjoy learning from you, Sophia. Hey, really appreciate what you shared here today, Sophia. Thanks for both the supply chain side and kind of the cultural side. I bet more folks are going to leave this conversation maybe knowing now how important marigold is in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, for sure. That's the goal. And yeah, if you want to start celebrating this day that we do, feel free to read the article or read more about it. Yeah.
All right. So I've got one final curveball question. Actually, this comes from your sister here, Sophia. So I'm going to put you on the spot a bit.
And she's like in the other room, but okay.
Is she really? Is she really doing this from the other room?
Yeah.
At least she's not interrupting your session, right?
Right. Right. So, let's see here. Calaverandia, maybe, is one of the biggest events here in Guadalajara. So she won't tell us about that, Sophia.
So, okay, so there's this guy that has started this startup, but I would say that right now it's a big company. So he is in love with theme parks. So all his life he was going on back and forth to Disneyland or Epcot and all those places because he loves the experience of how it makes this magical feeling within you. So he said, I'm going to start my own business but for Mexican traditions. So what he did, he started this theme park that they built out of nowhere, and it's called Calaverandia. That is a theme park of Day of the Dead here in Guadalajara. So if you ever want to come visit that theme park, it's absolutely amazing. It's you feel, if you watch Coco, because I think it's a big reference, right? So if you watch Coco, you will feel that you are in that movie. And the songs, the decoration, the everything is insane. And this happens, it has happened like for a couple few years in our city, and it's very, very nice. So he does that in other events throughout the year to remember people about these traditions, and to also make them feel the same thing he felt when he was like at Disney or other theme parks. So yeah.
Well, their own local twist, his own local twist on what you get at the big corporate parks. I love that, Sofia. It makes it more of a learning experience. So I'm glad your sister threw that curveball right at the end. So we'll know a little bit more.
I'll put a video of it in the comments later so that people see it, because it's actually, I mean, it surpasses everyone's expectation. It's not just like a walking around and seeing decoration. It's like a live event. I don't know. It's very moving.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, really appreciate what you shared, Greg. Always, we always leave these conversations more enlightened after we talk with Sofia, right?
Yeah. I have a feeling I'm going to be in Guadalajara next Halloween because it's my wife's favorite holiday. So
I think, it's so nice.
We have sugar skulls in our house at all times, Sofia. So
all times. Okay.
I'll send you a picture. Not yet. Like, I know I can think of where one is right now in the foyer. So,
well, if Vicky is in the next room, hopefully you heard what Greg said. Now you've got him. You can book the trip. You'll be there next fall. So we'll see. But
she
Sofia,
been there already. You just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in Arizona, so it's not a terrible drive.
So Gary asked if we can post Sofia's article. It is. We've got a link to it in the notes. Amanda and Clay, if y'all want to throw it in the comments, that'd be great too. But great piece. You'll find that really one click away in the show notes. So Sofia, thanks so much. Sofia Rivas Herrera, supply chain ambassador and enthusiast. Great to reconnect with you. Look forward to doing so again soon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And congrats on your 500 episode.
Thank you so much, Sofia. We really appreciate it. All the best.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. You know, Greg, always getting that swoosh timing correct, because there's so much other stuff I wanted to ask Sofia, but we jammed so much into this episode of The Buzz, right?
You know what I want to ask her? I want to ask her what Andrea does. I want to know what she does for a living, right? Because
yes,
I think they are twins, right? Are they not twins?
I think you're right. And I want to, my 3 kids have ruined my memory, but I want to say that she was a director or producer in the industry in Mexico, but I'm not sure. Maybe Andrea could answer in the comments. We'll see. But
that's
Greg,
good. You know, I'm watching Long Way Up, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but Ewan McGregor and his buddy Charlie Boorman, they ride motorcycles all over the place, and they're going from Tierra del Fuego to Los Angeles. And I want to do, they have long way up, long way round, and long way down. I want to do all the way up and go from Tierra del Fuego all the way to Alaska. So we might need a producer in Central and South America.
Awesome. Love it. Let's leave today. Are you ready? All right. So great conversation, great perspective, and POV shared there by Sofia. Really enjoyed that. Love the article. Again, I love an article that can be broadly consumed, right? And folks can learn more, make those connections as it relates to how the supply chain community makes it happen and where there's opportunities to improve certain supply chains.
It's a bit of an awakening for folks, right? To realize that's a supply chain task. I think you're right.
Agreed. Not so much for our community, of course, because they're AAA and they always bring it, but general consumers that are still kind of uncovering why they can get things in 2 hours or a day or 2 days. So along those lines, Greg, we want to encourage our members of our community to, hey, we want to hear from you. And we've got this tool that we've been experimenting with that you can find on our main site. You see that black tab there. I've got circled there on the visual. You can record up to 5 minutes of what's on your mind. And one of the questions, Greg, we've kind of thrown out there to our website visitors is, hey, what's not getting enough coverage in industry? But there's probably other really important questions that they could answer as well, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have to answer a question. I just like to hear what people are thinking, right? But you got me thinking, what is not getting enough coverage? So, Scott, if I was to ask you that question, what would you say?
Ooh, what a great question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It gets you thinking, that question, doesn't it?
Couple things quickly come to mind. We want to feature more expertise around cold chain. Cold chain clearly has gotten a lot more coverage here lately, but in terms of deeper dive coverage on some of the unique aspects of cold chain, that we want to, I think that is still underrepresented. Prior to the pandemic, I would tell you that professionals and practitioners, pickers, packers, machine operators, certainly truck drivers, definitely don't get enough attention, and we still got miles and miles to go in that regard. But fortunately, that's been one of the silver linings as it relates to the pandemic. And one last thing I'd love to get your take here, Greg, is I want to say how professional education for supply chain practitioners. And I'm talking in a broader sense, right? You got all these associations and schools and right. Other entities. Supply Chain Dive did a really neat piece a month or two back on how that's evolving. And I think that needs to get a lot more attention, because we're not only using those programs to create awareness of supply chain opportunities and the profession itself, but we're using it as a means of delivering skilled and educated workforce through the pipeline into industry. And naturally, just as much as the industry has changed via the pandemic, those important critical pipeline programs are going to have to evolve as well. So those are three quick things that come to my mind. How about you?
Yeah, education definitely needs to evolve. I mean, I've worked with a couple of schools who have said that precise thing, is that the changes in supply chain, even prior to COVID, were happening very rapidly. And most academics' knowledge is 15, 20 years old, right? I mean, that is a problem that they acknowledge at the best supply chain schools in the world. And one of the problems that we're trying to solve is how to bring that up to date. How do we stop using or encouraging ancient methodologies that now have been proven to be inadequate, right? So I think that is a big hurdle. At the same time, though, Scott, you and I have been able to do it without formal supply chain education. I think the beauty of supply chain is that it is physical, it is real, it is event driven, right? There's a lot of human intervention. It's something we see every day, even if we don't notice it. Right. And I think that gives us a lot greater ability to absorb and adapt to it and evolve our knowledge in it. So I think we've compensated somewhat for the lack of modern academic education.
Right.
Do you need to say both? Anyway, clearly I didn't get one. By understanding it from a physical, theoretical perspective. So that, there is a lot of opportunity there, and yet somehow people have managed to get this far. What I think we need to do is we need to think forward instead of think back. We still think about things the way we've always have, how we were taught in some class 15 or 20 years ago, or some theory that's 100 plus years old, right? I mean,
because it's there
where we need to shift our paradigm.
Right. Because it's there, it stays there year in and year out. And that a huge generality, but I think that's whether it's academia or whether it's private industry, there's some of that I mean, it goes back to that most dangerous phrase. That's how it's always been done. But I look forward to, we got a lot of folks in the comments that have gone through different programs, both professional and academic. We'll have to have a dedicated conversation. And for that matter, we got some instructors. We need to have Chris Barnes on here and talk about and get some of his thoughts on how things are evolving. But
well, yeah, I mean, when we're talking about warehouses, we got to have Chris on here, don't we?
Agreed. The gauntlet's thrown down, Mr. Chris Barnes. The gauntlet's been thrown down.
Let's see if I can make the buzz boring.
Right.
All right.
Andrea says she's a project manager at Avic Brand Strategy, a branding and design company. But what I think I remembered from that interview is that she was an organizer and panel director at an event of the Universidad Panamericana Sin Up. Greg, that fits right into your whole line of listen up, buckle up, sin up. How about that?
There we go.
Thanks for sharing. Claudia says, I think what's not getting enough coverage is the passenger airline industry. I was amazed by my experience in traveling. I'm not sure where ORD. What is ORD?
ORD is O'Hare, isn't it? Or is that? I'm sorry. I haven't flown in so long. I forgot.
Well,
oh no, that's probably Orlando.
She was, so Claudia, tell us more.
Claudia. Yeah. I'll have to look it up.
Pierre says education and career path with the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, where robotics and AI will have a dramatic effect on historical supply chain employment. That is a great point there. Mike says the raw commodity side needs to get more attention.
Yeah.
Gary says
completely agree with both of those.
One supply chain area does not get a lot of play are public sector supply chains. In many areas, they are a generation behind the times.
At least.
One more comment here, and then we're going to wrap, Greg. Claudia Freed says, safe and good, talking about her flight from last week. More technology on the Mexican side and very safe. Flight attendants don't mess around. She noticed how much older the crew was, and both flights had a female pilot or co-pilot. That is really cool. All right. So, Greg, really enjoyed episode number 500. And, out of the bevy of messages we got via social media and email and some others, we had a neat one come in from a regular live stream participant here in our community. And we want to bring in Amanda Luton, our CMO, really quick. And I think she's going to share some of it with us.
Okay.
Hello, Amanda. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Hello, everybody.
Unlike Sophia's sister, who was in the next room, we've got cameras on people in the next room. In our
I am also in the next room. That's right. The little hamster in our modem is just running as fast as he can, trying to keep up with the bandwidth here.
Yeah,
that is right. All right. So, Amanda, it was a pleasure having you on with us as part of the 500th episode. It was believe it or not, it was your second appearance in 500 episodes. We're going to have to change that on the next 500.
I think it was my third.
Was it third?
Mm-hmm.
Were you the star of 400 or 300? I forget.
We were, the three of us did one early in the pandemic. And then I was on episode 400 and then now 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So tell us, we've got a message from our friend Daria, I believe.
Yes.
Share some of that.
Yeah. So it was just this. Of course, we've had tons of wonderful comments and congratulations and everything all over social media. But we got this email this morning and I forwarded it to the whole team. Like, y'all got to read this. It's just so nice. But I just wanted to read just kind of an excerpt from Daria's email that says, of course, congratulations. I vividly remember the first time that I watched Greg and Scott on a LinkedIn live stream because it was an icebreaker moment for me. I'd been engulfed in pandemonium related to my career path and was at the crossroads. Listening to the domain experts and learning from their insights provided me with the much needed clarity to pursue a career in supply chain. The diverse community of supply chain professionals, academics, and students spanning across the globe and holding multifunctional roles at various industries has been the USP for supply chain now. And it just goes on to congratulate us and to tell us, this has been very valuable to listen. And I just thought, is that not what it's all about? Creating value. I think he even mentioned, and I didn't say this, kudos to the entire Supply Chain Now team and the entire Supply Chain Now community. So this is not just us, putting this content and this information out there. It's all of you. It's the whole community. It's the wonderful, I talk with my hands a lot. It's the wonderful folks in our comments that participate, during every live stream. So it's just the big group, the whole community, all about creating good value and wonderful information to share. Just
Agreed.
Sharing that voice of supply chain
and connectivity. As we learned
Absolutely.
in the pre-show, Sofia, I think, had connected with Daria and
That's right.
pointed him this way, and that's a beautiful thing. I think the world's better off the stronger we can make the bonds that tie us all and the connectivity. And if anyone listens to that episode 500, if there's one thing that I hope that they'll take away, if they can make it through all 90 minutes, is it's all about the community. That's it. It's it. Really, 500 is not a big deal. It's a big deal to us because we know what goes into each one of those. But to the market, who cares about 500? It's about what have you done for us lately, and that's our North Star. Is serving as a information repository, is serving as a a connecting platform, and most importantly, amplifying the voice of supply chain. That's the mission. That's what we have tattooed on our right shoulder. So, Amanda, I really appreciate you sharing that. Daria, thanks so much for taking time.
Thank you for that email. It means a lot to us. It really does.
Means a ton, and we're proud that you're part of our community. You make us all smarter and more talented. So, David says he's got 20 minutes left. All right. So Greg, I've babbled on for a little bit there, but why is that important to you?
Any small part we can play in, sorry, it's a little dusty in here. Any small part that we can play in encouraging or igniting or catalyzing someone's interest or experience or life or career, man, that's just such an honor to be able to do that. So, and you wonder, right? You wonder if you impact somebody. It's just great to hear it. I mean, it's encouraging, it's uplifting, it's affirming. Not that we need affirmation. We just affirm one another all the time. So
you're great, Greg. So wonderful.
Doggone it, people like me. But it is good to know that you can impact people like that. And it's not just us, and it's not just because we've got this public forum to do it. I mean, the Supply Chain Now insiders and the small groups, even when the Supply Chain Now, even within the Supply Chain Now insider group, encouraging and uplifting and educating and sharing with one another. And this live experience is just so powerful. So
agreed.
We all are helping to uplift one another, right?
Yep. During a challenging year for sure.
I'm the worst about interrupting. To think that we might have played a small part in connecting people that may have not otherwise been connected, I just think it's just so wonderful. It's a great feeling. It's really important.
What's what we exist for, right?
That's right. Well, selfishly, I'm working on my third volume of notes and best practices and stories from all of our guests and our community as they share each and every one. And that was the coolest part of the episode we did for 500 is we were able to kind of go back down through memory lane and remember, you can't remember all 500 shows at once, and kind of helping each other remember different aspects of different conversations and anecdotes that were shared that were very meaningful. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Today, the big thanks to Karin Bursa and Sofia Rivas Herrera. It was such a joy to hear and reconnect with both of them, and them share what's on their mind and some of their thoughts and insights with our community. But we love it, and it's great to have those messages back from our community. So, Amanda and Greg, we're going to have to. We're 10 minutes past. We are overdue. The train.
Yes, we're starting to cut into Davin's time here. But it is funny what he said. I'm curious how long episode 500 was before Chris Barnes got a hold of it.
I was wondering that too. I was like, pre-edit. I wonder how long.
Agreed. It's funny. I think we made a joke during the recording that he gets the final say so. Anyway,
he does. He does. He takes out my 40-second pauses between every word.
And all my bad jokes.
Laughing at everything. Yeah.
Well, hey, folks, if there's something you cannot find between the notes we publish and the comments, hey, check us out at supplychainnow.com. You can also shoot us a note to Amanda at supplychainnow.com. We use that because she doesn't miss anything, as always. But check us out. It's so important for y'all to know that this is all about amplifying the voice, serving as the voice, amplifying the voice, amplifying your POV, so that the global business community and really beyond hears what's on your mind. So with that said, Amanda, Luton, Greg White, really on behalf of our entire Supply Chain Now team. Greg, did you want me to give you the last hot take before we sign off? Anything else? I thought I saw something stirring in your left eye. I saw a little gleam, and I thought I'd give you one last
shot. No, I think we're good. Look, 500. This is now 501, just like that.
Right.
But yeah, you know what? This is what I would like to say. On Friday, I don't know if it was on Facebook or somewhere, but one of those apps that reminds you were here a year ago. It was Scott, you and I on that park bench next to the guy who we gave our lunch to because he asked so nicely, and maybe a few bucks in Austin when we filmed that just really quick video was that episode 200? I think it was episode 2.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
1 year ago. We've done 300 episodes in 1 year. Hey, I need some time off.
Well, I'll tell you.
Wow, it's just hard to believe the scale of this thing.
Yeah, right? It's also hard to believe how different and how we could celebrate the 200th episode, do it in person, right, in Austin, before the world had changed in many ways, and certainly before the states changed to now. But you know what? We'll be back. We're going to all get back in studios and offices and enjoy each other's in-person company sooner than you think. And on that note, Greg and Amanda, I appreciate being on this journey with both of y'all, and Clay back behind the scenes, and the whole rest of the team.
Corinne,
really what's that?
Corinne and Jeff and Kevin and Kelly and everyone now. I mean, the list is so long now, right? The
music is playing in my right ear. So
we've got 1,000 episodes.
All right. On behalf of our entire team here, really appreciate you being a part of today's buzz. Hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.